Because in my experience, I find that there's a lot of good fathers that don't have access to their children. And a lot of times, like, women are spiteful and don't give them access. And then they'll call them deadbeats, but they're not really deadbeats. It's just because the women won't give them access to their kids.
They're not part of the equation of being incompetent fathers.
Right. But to me, like, I would say they are, because a lot of times, like, it's a different perception. When they're like, when the kids are younger, they think their dad's a deadbeat, but he's not. And they find out when they're 25 or 30.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, I've got a friend personally, actually, who was talking about this the other day. And unfortunately, he's on the hook for child support that for a daughter that he hasn't seen since she was born. He signed away his rights. And when he was in fact forced to pay for the child, he tried to connect with the child, with the young daughter. She's now, I believe, 15 years old. But due to the poisoning of the mum.
Why did he sign away his rights?
Young. I know, in doing so, being young, naive, not really knowing the consequences of doing so, and thinking, a lot of guys make mistakes and take account for it, but in the hope that signing away the rights, because I believe she wasn't from this country, so one of the main reasons so she could leave the country, but in essence she left and came back, started claiming, and got him on the hook, although he signed away. So when he tried to establish a relationship, the poison was already set in the young girl's heart. So up until now, he's not been able to see her.
Wow.
So yeah.
You were going to say something?
Yeah, so I think if you're signing away your rights as a father at a young age, like, it's natural for a mother to already think, like, okay, he's not putting in the effort to want to be the father to this child. At that time, as you said, like, he changed his opinion, so he probably didn't want to, like, be that involved in the child's life at the time. So I think as a single mom, if you're then raising a child, doing all those things that a two-parent household should really be doing, it's natural to have that toxic feeling. Yes, you shouldn't say it on the child or portray it to the child, but I think any person normally sometimes slips up and they will say things to the children, which is, you're saying, they're like poisoning the idea to the child. But also, to do with the first question, I don't think that society is saying that men shouldn't be appreciated. I think society wants men to be appreciated, but a lot of men aren't doing enough to be able to be appreciated. And I think the same way we have, like, Mother's Day, we have Father's Day, but not as many men are celebrated on Father's Day, because not as many men are playing that role in Father's Day, or playing that role of actually being a father to their child. And a father doesn't mean someone who's just, okay, I'm gonna pay the bills and be a provider. You need to have an emotional connection.
Do you think that's the woman's fault or the man's?
Which one, sorry?
Like, if there's a father that's not involved in the kid's life, whose fault is that?
It's the person who doesn't want to be involved in the child's life.
Wouldn't you say it's the mom's fault for picking him? Because a lot of times I see women picking guys that have, three kids by three different women, and then being shocked when he's not a good dad.
I think that's definitely can be the case. So I think people do need to choose their partners very wisely, because at the end of the day, that's who you're having a child with and you want to raise your child with. But obviously people get into situationships, people fall pregnant, things happen, and a lot of men change as well when they find out that a woman's pregnant. They can be the most loving man ever. He could have love bombed you, made you fall in love with his potential, everything else. And
Wait, love bombing, what is that?
It's like where at the start of a relationship, or you start talking to a guy and he tells you everything you want to hear, like what we were saying before, basically women fall in love with what they hear. So men know that. So they'll tell you everything that you want to hear. So you'll fall in love with that potential, hoping he'll be that guy.
Whose fault is that?
Whose fault is that?
Yeah, to fall in love with what you hear.
I don't really buy it when women say they don't know. I just think it's a load of crap. Like, damn well that that like, the guy is who he is. They see the million red flags and they just don't care.
I'm sure you've been there as a woman. You've seen red flags and just ignored them, right?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that situation, but I think that comes down to you as a person. For me, I want to see the good in people. So, okay, I've seen some red flags, but I've seen good green flags as well. And you want to hope that the green flags will overtake the red flags.
Yeah, but you like red flags.
I don't like red flags anymore. Trust me, I do
A lot of
not like
women
red
do.
flags
Most girls
anymore.
do.
You said anymore, right?
Yeah, anymore. I think it's an immaturity thing, liking red flags, liking immature men. It's just when you're immature and you haven't gone through that self-growth to realize there's better. But because so many men have red flags, it's hard to find a man who doesn't have any. So you're just trying to find a man with the least number of red flags.
But do you think that's a little bit